We've just witnessed the conclusion of both the men's and women's NCAA Division I basketball tournaments, the annual phenomenon better known as March Madness, where every month people from all sectors of sports fandom come together to act like they know which teams are going to advance through the tournament and to the championship. It has been a phenomenal and unprecedented time for collegiate basketball, as NIL has restructured the dynamic of the game, and a renaissance in interest in the women's game has fully taken shape after the developments over the past 3 years of teams like Iowa, LSU, UConn, UCLA, USC, and South Carolina. The tournament itself is the crown champion of the NCAA, as the men's tournament reigns supreme as the highest grossing product for the NCAA, netting over $1 billion annually from broadcasting rights alone, greatly distancing itself from college's second most profitable, the college football playoff. While not directly operated by the NCAA, the CFP has its own broadcasting rights valued at approximately $470 million a year. Football has been in an exciting place as well, with the tournament being expanded to 12 teams. NIL, in the shift in parity, has set the sport for a course into unparalleled territory. A marquee moment for fans of college football last year was the return of EA's NCAA football series, now rebranded as EA College Football. In the midst of an 11-year hiatus, the NCAA's Board of Governors voted unanimously to allow student athletes to profit from the use of their name, image, and likeness in 2021, and it opened the door for the series to return. Promptly following the ruling, EA announced that the series would indeed return in the coming years, and by 2024, the wait was over and the game, featuring 131 FBS D1 schools and over 10,000 athletes, would be unleashed onto the industry that was now saturated by Madden and 2K, as opposed to the simulation sports scene a decade ago. The hype was real, however, and the game would go on to sell $500 million in sales first week. It would go on to dethrone NBA 2K21 for the highest selling sports game of all time. With that being said, the successful return was also tied to a prolonged question for the fans of college play on the hardwood instead of the gridiron. NCAA's football's sister series, NCAA basketball, previously known as NCAA March Madness, had been shelved in 2009 due to similar constraints from NCAA rules, among other factors. With the college football series revived and set to strengthen EA's grip on football video games, is there an avenue for NCAA basketball to return? Could there be a EA College Basketball 26 on the horizon? Well, there are two challenges that could perhaps keep EA hesitant to return to the series. The first one is more nuanced. Unlike the company's iron grasp on the NFL with Madden, EA had quietly whimpered out of the NBA market as 2K surged to new levels of dominance. EA's NBA Live series had been a staple competitor to 2K, actually preceding 2K by 5 or so years. Live was staunchly competitive against 2K early into 2K's life, but by the end of the 2000s, 2K had begun to pull away and never look back. EA would continue to produce titles, however it became clear that there was a struggle to do so. Live 10 was reformatted into NBA Elite 10, a mobile game made for iOS. There was no NBA Live 12, and 13 was scrapped. By the time the series resurfaced in full with NBA Live 14, they were met with the worst reception towards a game in the series. The two games that would follow would be lukewarm and underperform significantly, forcing EA to take a break from the series again after just 3 titles following their previous hiatus at the start of the decade. They would look to improve in 2017 with NBA Live 18. In order to compete, EA announced that all players who pre-ordered the game would receive the game for $39.99, compared to the standard $59.99 cost of AAA titles at the time. Measures like that would come across as desperate to some, but that was truly the position that EA was in at the time, going up against 2K18. Despite the game receiving average reception, it was still a major improvement in comparison to the previous installments of the series since it returned with NBA Live 10. They would give it one final try with Live 19, a fitting swan song that epitomized both the promise and shortcomings of the franchise. The gameplay was still hampered and stiff in comparison to 2K's tuned and curated animations. However, Live innovated in other facets. They were the first to introduce custom female players and building off of 18's history as the first basketball game to feature WNBA players and rosters, beating out 2K by 2 years. The game also allowed for mixed-gender streetball play and focused on women in its core gameplay. Glass ceiling shattering aside, the game was dwarfed by 2K19 in sales, and it would finish off the NBA Live series for good. A stark fate for EA when they are so well known for monopolizing the NFL and football video games. They fell victim to the other side of the gun in regards to basketball. Perhaps it would make them insecure in their ability to make a functionally sound and appealing basketball game in comparison to 2K. However, they would be in a unique territory covering college hoops as opposed to the NBA and WNBA. A huge factor that can give them the space to thrive without it being a parallel product to NBA 2K. It could also give them some leeway in improving the mechanical flaws of EA's basketball system, as people who sorely miss the NCAA basketball series or simply have desired to play a college basketball video game over the past 15 years would be lenient as a consumer. The second challenge, on the other hand, is a massive undertaking that is likely as to why there have been no tentative announcements for the series to be revived by EA Sports. In NCAA Division I, there are 134 schools in the Football Bowl subdivision. All of those schools are impressively present in College Football 25. Already a massive project to take on, set side by side to the NFL only having 32 teams. It takes an enormous amount of licensing deals, NIL money distributed, and asset gathering to make the game possible. In NCAA Division I basketball, there are 352 schools. That's more than 2.5 the amount of programs that play collegiate football on the highest stage. 31 conferences and over 5,300 players. Now consider this. Unlike football, women also play D1 basketball, and their tournament is the third highest grossing behind football and the men's game. It would be amiss to exclude players like Juju Watkins, Hannah Hidalgo, Chloe Kitts, and Flau'jae Johnson. Aside from the Citadel and VMI, both military colleges, all of the programs with men's teams also filled women's teams, subsequently doubling the rosters from 352 to 702 distinct rosters spanning men's and women's and totaling over 10,400 players. Going from NBA Live 19, which featured only 42 teams between the NBA and WNBA, to that number would be an unfathomable increase in time, effort, money, and licensing that would have to be sorted out before the game could see the light of day. That itself begs the question. In a low-risk culture like the US and a volatile business like game development, where we are seeing AAA publishers take the safer approach more and more, would it be worthwhile for EA to commit to producing College Basketball 26? Well, EA has doubled down on college football, announcing that the company would increase per player football NIL payments from $600 to $1,500, which amounts to a total NIL expense increase of at least $10 million. Going from paying a total of about $7 million to players for College Football 25 to likely shelling out more than $16 million for 26, which is on track to release this summer, numbers that don't even consider additional marketing expenses for star athletes asked to promote the game and are completely separate from the cost of actually developing the software. It will be a humongous financial commitment to take on Madden, College Football 26, and College Basketball 26 all at once. Of course, I'm aware that there are hundreds of individual studios that create different games, even ones in the same series, but it would still be a marginally larger project to take on in comparison to the standard sports game. With that being said, I want to flip it to the viewers. Would you like to see EA return to the college basketball scene? Do you think if they do, that it'll be as intricate and thorough as college football? Will we be able to not only play a Duke versus UNC rivalry game, but a random non-conference women's game between Monmouth and Utah State? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one, and thank you for watching.